Hello and welcome back, my incredible AP Insight family. Abby Phillip here. Listen up, folks, because this is getting intense. Today, in a fresh interview, Hillary Clinton dropped a bombshell, claiming that she and her husband are being dragged into this whole Epstein scandal just to shift the spotlight away from the current administration and whatever secrets they're guarding. So what's the comeback from the top? The response boils down to this. There's no cover-up on my end. I've been cleared completely. My ties to Jeffrey Epstein, non-existent. Investigators dug deep, expecting dirt, and came up empty-handed. In fact, they uncovered the exact opposite of what they hoped for. I've walked away from this fully vindicated. Actually, there was this figure, Jeffrey Dempsey, who was pushing hard against my election chances, alongside some writer who's nothing more than a hack, and still, I've been proven innocent. No, the focus is shifting to them now, and that's their mess to handle. I can't predict the outcome, but we'll watch it unfold. I caught her remarks from that Munich appearance, and it's obvious. She's gripped by this intense fixation on me, this so-called Trump derangement syndrome. Should she step up and testify openly? It's cleared me in ways that matter, and what's fascinating is how they've been drawn into the fray. Picture this, the Clintons, along with a bunch of other prominent Democrats, are now entangled in it all. But let's flip that around. What does it really mean when someone insists, "I've got no secrets," yet they're overseeing a team that's buried every detail from the start when it comes to Epstein? Don't forget, when a leader declares total transparency, recall how Pam Bondi boasted about having those documents stacked on her workspace, primed for public view over a year back. Or how the president pulled Lauren Boebert aside into a secure briefing room to convince her to pull her support from that push to disclose everything. And why is there this effort to challenge Thomas Massie in his own district? He's the one who crafted the legislation demanding those files see the light of day. Now, we're well past the 2-month mark since the deadline set by the Epstein Files Transparency Act, and yet millions of pages, 3 million to be precise, remain locked away with no sign of release anytime soon. Even in the batches that did trickle out, isn't it curious how the identities of those who suffered were exposed, while the names of the alleged accomplices stayed blacked out? Could that really be pure chance? Come on, this isn't some wild speculation pulled from thin air. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's been one of the loudest voices backing the president, came clean about the scale of this concealment in the past day alone. Let me paint the picture of what she revealed. For months behind the scenes, leading right up to when those files finally started emerging, there was intense pushback from the highest levels. Pressure came straight from the White House, from the Speaker's office, urging us not to withdraw our endorsements from this discharge petition. And we pushed back. Why on earth would we? This is about the Epstein records, the pinnacle of accountability, the surefire method to shine a light on corruption. It's the definitive strike against shadowy forces, unmasking a network of wealthy, influential figures who, I firmly believe, pull strings from the shadows. And you know what? It turns out they do hold that sway. So we questioned it hard. Why block this? Meanwhile, the president labels the entire saga a fabrication, a ploy by the opposition. He distances himself completely from the accusers, refusing any engagement. Tension builds as these survivors maintain that the president committed no wrongdoing. They still stand by that. Their legal representative echoes it. Donald Trump was the sole figure who stepped in to assist. Records even confirm he flagged concerns about Jeffrey Epstein. Yet, paradoxically, the president opposes the release. He's railing against it. The administration applies leverage on Nancy Mace. They escort Lauren Boebert into a classified setting. I have no clue what was discussed there. Attacks rain down on Thomas Massie relentlessly. Then, out of nowhere, I receive this furious call from the president. It's been since September, and he's livid, berating me for aligning with Thomas Massie's initiative to force out those Epstein documents. I try explaining, "Sir, the accounts clear you of any fault. This needs to be public." We clash over it, and he drops this line, "Marjorie, my associates could face harm." There it is. If that doesn't scream volumes about the hollowness of claims like no secrets here, then what does? Don't just hear it from me. Listen to the insider who built her whole image around proximity to Trump, and pay attention to his initial statement. He proclaimed total exoneration. But how exactly? Fresh revelations show his name surfaces over 1 million times in those Epstein documents. This situation escalates his apparent connections day by day. If that's exoneration, then what's the standard for anyone else implicated in major events? Then he adds, no involvement whatsoever with Jeffrey Epstein. Zero connection to Jeffrey Epstein. Absolutely none. Really? You exchanged personal notes like birthday messages. Your communications pop up repeatedly in his correspondence. He sourced victims from your own resort property, granted access despite his notorious history. Oh, and there's more evidence stacking up, but let's stick to the facts. Trump insists on zero links. Got that? But zoom in on this exchange. Catch the query directed at him and his follow-up. Do you believe she ought to give sworn testimony in public? Well, I've been fully cleared on that front, and it's intriguing because they're implicated now. Imagine. The Clintons and numerous Democrats are caught up in it. The question centers on whether Clinton should appear under oath, and strikingly, Trump sidesteps it. Why the dodge? Because he realizes that if she does, it sets a benchmark. Ex-leaders with Epstein ties become targets for congressional scrutiny. Soon enough, he'll be in that ex-president category, with his own Epstein associations, making him vulnerable to the same summons. So, who's at the forefront of his mind? Himself, naturally. In a related probe, James Comer faced questions on this very risk for Trump. Trump's mentions exceed 1,000 in these papers. Why not pursue more details from him? Compel testimony. I've observed that in every press huddle with the president, Epstein comes up. He's fielded those inquiries. But has Bill Clinton, Hillary? This opens a fresh avenue and will proceed accordingly. Why then does Trump, named far more frequently than the Clintons, escape the scrutiny Comer demands for them? Because he's already addressed it, they say, but examine his typical responses. Still harping on Jeffrey Epstein? This topic's been beaten to death for ages, with borders, crises everywhere, and you're fixated on this individual, astonishing, worth the airtime? Do you even want to reply? I don't object to responding, but it's baffling you'd raise Epstein amid all this. Apparently that suffices for Comer, the champion of thorough probes. But surely there's a deeper answer somewhere. Didn't Epstein's messages claim you were aware of the young women? No knowledge of that. It would have surfaced ages ago. What was his intent hanging with Bill Clinton, Harvard's leader, Larry Summers, and others? But he noted me because of my position. He jotted self-memos. Ridiculous. Focus on his Clinton ties, Harvard connections, all those figures including major banks. Nothing screams openness like insulting a journalist's appearance for daring an Epstein query. That's the transparency Comer endorses, I suppose. For kicks, let's try another angle. Survivors from Epstein's network are furious over those heavy redactions, whole interviews erased in black ink. Should more come out? They complained about over-release, you know. Tell me otherwise. I believe it's high time the nation shifts focus. Since nothing ties to me except baseless attacks from Epstein and allies, let's move forward to priorities people value. To those seeking justice, you're the pits as a reporter. No surprise CNN tanks with talent like yours. A young lady, yet I've never spotted a grin on you in a decade. Why? Because deep down, you know your narrative's false and your outlet's dishonest. They ought to feel shame. On to health policy. That, evidently, is the fulfilling reply Comer seeks from Trump, rendering further questioning pointless, given such candor. Right? The takeaway is crystal. Trump's evading because he's trapped. In redirecting blame, he's unwittingly paved the way for sitting or former presidents to face Epstein grilling in hearings, a move that'll rebound on him hard. His playbook? Brazen falsehoods, so blatant that even allies in podcast circles call him on it. Why redact non-victims? That's the insanity, selective editing. This reeks for the leadership, especially after dismissing it as fiction. Not fabricated at all. Charitable view, maybe unaware, but no hoax here. If hiding non-victims, you're shielding perpetrators, not survivors. So what's the game? Defenders claiming no ring, no proof, overblown hysteria. They're either deceiving deliberately or unhinged. Fine, either way. These are reams of evidence. Why an FBI probe with endless pages if zilch occurred? Bizarre if all accusations baseless against elites. I sensed a whitewash, prompting my outrage. What's happening? Their swift retort signaled panic mode. I pressed, sensing the cover. Odd, since the campaign hammered exposure. Figures like Bonafini, others pledged revelations. Pam Bondi vowed files ready, binders compiled for full drop. Then abruptly, no list, no charges, sealed lips, no more releases. The roster, mythical. Kash Patel testified similarly before reps. Empty, no prosecution fodder, solo Epstein operation, zilch on others. Who Trump's audience is for these tales remains a mystery, but it's failing spectacularly. As he digs in, the deceptions amplify, growing ever more transparent. Before wrapping, if this breakdown resonates and you're keen on more unfiltered reporting, hit subscribe, buttons glowing on your display. But here's the stark truth. In today's climate, administrations can pressure platforms to mute dissenters. My presence here hinges on tech moguls who've signaled allegiance to power. To counter that, join my newsletter for direct access should channels close. Links up now, free sign up, or paid to back our work. Grateful for your time. Stay vigilant. Hello, and welcome back, my incredible AP Insight family. Abby Phillip here.